The universe had seen empires rise and fall across millennia, but none had wielded power quite like the Galactic Empire. Across star systems spanning parsecs beyond counting, the iron fist of Emperor Palpatine crushed rebellion and enforced order through fear, military might, and the mystical power of the dark side of the Force. Yet even empires could miscalculate. Admiral Kendricks stood on the bridge of the Star Destroyer inexorable, watching hyperspace tunnel past in brilliant streaks when the alarms shrieked. "Sir, we're reading massive gravitational anomalies. The hyperdrive calculations were..." Reality tore. The fleet of 7 Star Destroyers lurched violently from hyperspace into normal space, but the stars were wrong. Completely wrong. Instead of the familiar constellations of the Outer Rim, sensors showed a single yellow star with planets orbiting in unfamiliar patterns. And one planet, the third from the Sun, blazed with electromagnetic signals unlike anything in Imperial records. "Report," Kendricks demanded, gripping his command console. "Unknown system, Admiral. Single inhabited world. Primitive technology. No hyperdrive capability, no deflector shields, chemical propulsion only." "But," the sensor officer's voice wavered, "Sir, we're detecting thousands of anomalous energy signatures across the planet's surface. They read almost like Force sensitives." Before Kendricks could respond, the blast doors hissed open. Every officer on the bridge immediately straightened as Lord Vader entered, his mechanical breathing filling the sudden silence. The Dark Lord approached the viewport, gazing down at the blue-green world below. "Interesting," Vader intoned, his voice resonating through his mask. "I sense power, crude, undisciplined, but significant." He turned to Kendricks. "Establish standard occupation protocol. Deploy probe droids to major population centers. I will lead the initial assessment personally." "My lord, shouldn't we attempt communication first? Establish..." Vader's hand rose slightly. Kendricks gasped, clutching his throat as invisible pressure constricted his windpipe. "I did not ask for your opinion, Admiral. The Emperor's will demands expansion. This world will submit or burn." Released from the Force grip, Kendricks collapsed against his station, nodding frantically. Within the hour, Imperial probe droids descended through Earth's atmosphere, transmitting data back to the fleet. The world called itself Earth, inhabited by over 7 billion humans who had somehow developed nuclear weapons and rudimentary space travel without discovering the Force. But the truly fascinating discovery came from intercepted transmissions, superheroes, beings with powers that defied their primitive understanding of physics, flight without propulsion, invulnerability, strength that could lift vehicles, speed that broke sound barriers. The natives called them supes, created by something called Compound V, manufactured by a corporation named Volt International. Vader studied the data in his meditation chamber aboard the Executor, his personal superstar destroyer, which had translated immediately after the main fleet. Images flickered across holographic displays, a blonde man in American colors hovering above crowds, a woman deflecting bullets, a man running faster than any speeder bike. "Intriguing," Vader mused. "They have power but no understanding of the Force, no discipline, no purpose beyond serving corporate interests." He could sense it now, reaching out through the Force across the distance. Thousands of these enhanced beings scattered across the planet, their presence in the Force like untrained children playing with weapons they didn't comprehend. One presence stood above all others, powerful, arrogant, burning with barely contained rage hidden beneath a veneer of heroism. This one would require personal attention. The Dark Lord opened a comm channel. "Admiral Kendricks, prepare landing parties and transmit this message on all frequencies this planet uses." Moments later, every television, radio, computer, and phone on Earth simultaneously displayed the same image, the Imperial crest, followed by Darth Vader's imposing silhouette. "People of Earth," Vader's mechanical voice echoed across the globe. "You are now subjects of the Galactic Empire. Resist, and your cities will burn. Submit, and order will be restored to your chaotic world. You have 24 hours to respond. Choose wisely." The transmission ended. In New York City, the screens went dark. Then pandemonium erupted. At Vought Tower, emergency meetings convened. At the Pentagon, generals scrambled. In a dingy basement hideout in Brooklyn, a group called the Boys looked at each other with expressions mixing horror and opportunity. And high above the city, Homelander hovered in the afternoon sun, staring up at the massive triangular shapes that had just eclipsed the sky. His jaw clenched. His eyes began to glow red. Nobody threatened Earth without his permission. The most powerful being on the planet rose higher into the atmosphere, cape billowing behind him, ascending toward the star destroyers that dared cast shadows over his world. If these invaders wanted a response, Homelander would give them one they'd never forget. Below, millions watched their phones and screens, tracking Homelander's ascent. For once, the world united in a single hope, that their greatest hero would save them. They had no idea what was coming. Homelander broke through the cloud layer at Mach 2, his all-American suit gleaming in the unfiltered sunlight. The Star Destroyers loomed impossibly large, their wedge-shaped hulls stretching for over a mile each. Smaller craft, TIE fighters, his enhanced vision noted, patrolled in precise formations around the capital ships. He'd seen the transmission. Some armored freak in a black cape thinking he could just claim Earth like it was a piece of real estate. Homelander had spent years cultivating his image as humanity's savior, their god, their protector. Nobody swept in and took that away. Nobody. "Vought command, this is Homelander," he said into his hidden earpiece. "I'm engaging the threat directly. Get cameras on this. The world needs to see their hero defend them." Stan Edgar's calm voice responded immediately. "Homelander, wait for strategic assessment. We don't know their capabilities." "I don't care." Homelander accelerated toward the nearest Star Destroyer. "They want Earth. They go through me first." He crossed the distance in seconds, pulling up before the bridge viewport of the Inexorable. Through the transparasteel, he could see dozens of officers in gray and black uniforms staring at him with expressions of shock. Good. Let them see what real power looked like. Homelander's eyes blazed crimson. Twin beams of heat vision lanced out, striking the Star Destroyer's hull. The energy splashed against reinforced durasteel plating, scorching it black but failing to penetrate. His eyes narrowed. He poured more power into the beams, heating the metal until it began to glow. Inside the bridge, Admiral Kendricks barked orders. "Shields at full. Target that. Whatever he is. Fire." Turbo laser batteries swiveled, tracking Homelander's position. Green bolts of superheated plasma erupted from the Star Destroyer's surface, each blast carrying enough energy to vaporize a building. Homelander twisted midair, dodging with superhuman agility, but one bolt clipped his shoulder. The impact sent him spinning, pain exploding across his body. Actual pain, something he hadn't felt in years. "What the—" He righted himself, staring at his smoldering suit. They'd hurt him. Him. Rage flooded through Homelander's veins. He dove toward the Star Destroyer, fists forward, and slammed into the hull at full speed. The durasteel buckled inward from the impact, creating a crater 6 feet deep. Homelander ripped at the metal, tearing through outer plating with his bare hands, carving a path deeper into the ship's structure. Alarms blared throughout the Inexorable. "Hull breach, sections 7 through 12, depressurization imminent." Then Homelander felt it, a presence behind him, approaching with impossible speed. He spun, heat vision already charging, and froze. A figure in black armor descended through the void of space, as if gravity itself obeyed his will. Cape flowing despite the absence of atmosphere, lightsaber ignited and blazing crimson red, Darth Vader stopped 10 meters away from Homelander. The Dark Lord stood suspended in vacuum without suit or breathing apparatus beyond his iconic mask, held aloft purely by the Force. "You are powerful," Vader stated, his voice transmitted directly through comms. "But undisciplined, like an animal with strength but no purpose." "Who the hell are you supposed to be?" Homelander snarled. "Darth, who gives a shit? Get off my planet before I rip you apart." "Your planet?" Vader tilted his head slightly. "You possess strength, yet you serve corporate masters. You have power, yet you crave approval from weaklings. I sense your rage, your frustration, your desire for recognition." The lightsaber hummed between them. "You are wasted on this primitive world." "Shut up," Homelander's eyes blazed again. "You don't know anything about me." He fired, twin beams of concentrated heat lancing toward Vader. The Dark Lord raised his left hand, and the impossible happened. The heat vision beams curved, deflected by an invisible barrier, dissipating into space. Homelander's eyes widened. "Impressive raw power," Vader acknowledged. "The Emperor would find you interesting. Join us willingly, and you could rule this world as our enforcer. Resist, and I will break you." "I already rule this world," Homelander screamed, launching himself forward. He'd never fought anyone who could match him before. Every enemy he'd faced crumbled beneath his strength, their bones shattering like glass, their bodies yielding like paper. But when Homelander's fist connected with Vader's outstretched palm, the Dark Lord didn't budge. The Force flowed through Vader, rooting him in place as firmly as a mountain. Vader's hand closed around Homelander's fist, then twisted. Homelander felt his wrist bones grind together. "Impossible," he gasped. "No," Vader replied. "Inevitable." The Dark Lord's other hand thrust forward, and Homelander suddenly couldn't breathe. His throat constricted as if caught in an invisible vice. He clawed at his neck, finding nothing but air, yet the pressure increased. Vader was choking him without touching him, through some power Homelander couldn't comprehend. "I sense your fear now," Vader observed, watching Homelander struggle. "Behind the arrogance and the costume, you are afraid of being ordinary, of being weak, of being unloved." The pressure increased. "That fear makes you predictable." Homelander's vision dimmed. With desperate strength, he grabbed Vader's outstretched arm and pulled, dragging them both toward Earth's atmosphere. If he could get Vader into the open air, away from the ships maybe. Vader released the Force choke. Homelander gasped, sucking in vacuum, then realized that should be impossible. But somehow he was still alive, still conscious. Compound V defying physics again. They plummeted together into the atmosphere, heat building around them as friction ignited the air. Homelander threw a wild haymaker. Vader blocked it with his forearm, the impact creating a sonic boom that shattered windows 5 miles below. The lightsaber came up in a precise arc. Homelander barely dodged, feeling the plasma blade's heat pass millimeters from his face. They broke through the clouds above New York, still grappling, still trading blows that generated thunderclaps heard across 3 states. News helicopters scrambled to capture the impossible battle. The world watched their greatest hero fighting the alien invader. But those who looked closely could see something terrifying. Homelander wasn't winning. For the first time in his life, he'd met someone stronger. Stan Edgar watched the aerial battle through floor-to-ceiling windows in his Vought Tower penthouse, his expression unreadable. Around him, executives frantically worked phones and tablets, coordinating responses, managing the media narrative, calculating stock implications. Edgar ignored them all, his focus entirely on the two figures exchanging blows in the sky. "Sir, the Pentagon is demanding a conference call," his assistant said. "The President wants to know our recommended response to the invasion." "Tell them I'll call back in 10 minutes, Edgar replied calmly. "First, I need to understand what we're dealing with." On the screens lining his office walls, data streamed in from Volt's global surveillance network. Satellite imagery showed 7 massive ships in orbit, with the largest, over 19 kilometers long, according to radar estimates, positioned directly above the eastern seaboard. Smaller craft patrolled major cities worldwide. The invasion force had established positions with military precision that suggested extensive conquest experience. But what fascinated Edgar wasn't the ships. It was what happened moments ago in space, captured by Volt's orbital cameras. He rewound the footage, watching frame by frame as Homelander's heat vision, capable of cutting through reinforced steel, simply stopped mid-air, deflected by nothing visible. The armored figure, this Vader, had blocked the attack with a gesture. "Ashley," Edgar said to his assistant, "get me everything our intelligence division can find on this transmission. Who are they? Where did they come from? And most importantly," he paused the footage on Vader's outstretched hand. "What is that power?" His phone buzzed. "Private line." He answered, "Madeline." Madeline Stillwell's voice crackled through. "Stan, I'm coordinating with the military. They want to launch a nuclear strike on those ships before they can deploy ground forces. They're asking if our supes can survive the fallout if—" "Absolutely not," Edgar interrupted. "A nuclear exchange would destroy our infrastructure and kill millions of customers. Unacceptable." "Then what's your play? Because Homelander's getting his ass kicked up there, and if our flagship hero loses on live television—" "I'm aware of the optics, Madeline." Edgar walked to his desk, opening a secure drawer. Inside lay a single vial of amber liquid, Compound V, refined to unprecedented purity. "I'm going to negotiate." "Negotiate? Stan, they're invaders. They're conquerors," Edgar corrected. "There's a difference. Conquerors want territory, resources, control. They want something, which means they can be bargained with." He lifted the vial to the light. "And we have something they've never seen before, something that might interest an empire." 30 minutes later, Edgar sat alone in a Volt conference room, having sent every other executive away. He transmitted a message to the Imperial fleet using their own communication. Protocols, impressive technology, he admitted, requesting a face-to-face meeting. To his satisfaction, they'd accepted immediately. A shimmer appeared in the center of the room. Edgar recognized the technology from science fiction holovids, but seeing it in reality was different. A 3-dimensional image resolved into crystalline clarity. A figure in a black hooded robe, face hidden in shadow, standing perfectly still. "I am Stan Edgar, CEO of Vault International," he said smoothly. "I appreciate you accepting my request for dialogue." "I am Grand Admiral Thrawn," the hologram replied, its voice cultured and measured. The face emerged from shadow, revealing blue skin and glowing red eyes. "Admiral Kendricks has been replaced following his failure to properly assess your world's defensive capabilities. I have assumed command of this occupation force. You wish to speak, Mr. Edgar. The Empire is listening." Edgar noted the phrasing. Occupation, not invasion, already establishing dominance. "Admiral, I've built Volt International into a $300 billion enterprise by understanding power dynamics. You have superior technology and military force. We have 7 billion people who won't submit easily and enhanced individuals who could make occupation extremely costly." He leaned forward. "I'm proposing a more efficient arrangement." Thrawn's eyes narrowed with what might have been interest. Continue. Vought controls 93% of the superhero market worldwide. We manufacture Compound V, the substance that creates enhanced individuals. We manage their public image, their contracts, their deployment. Edgar steepled his fingers. Work with us, and we can facilitate a peaceful transition of power. The Empire gains Earth's resources and population without prolonged conflict. Vought maintains operational control of the SUPE program under Imperial oversight. You would betray your own species for profit and position? Thrawn asked, though his tone suggested assessment rather than judgment. I would spare billions of lives and preserve civilization, Edgar countered. Homelander is the strongest SUPE on Earth, and your Lord Vader is currently demonstrating his superiority. If your empire commits to full invasion, millions will die, but Earth will eventually fall. I'm offering you a shortcut that serves both parties. Thrawn was silent for several seconds, his red eyes studying Edgar with unnerving intensity. You are remarkably pragmatic, Mr. Edgar. The Emperor values such qualities. However, I require proof of your claims. This Compound V demonstrate its capabilities. Edgar had anticipated this. He pressed a button on the conference table. The doors opened and 3 figures entered, 2 guards flanking a teenage girl with blonde hair and a nervous expression. Subject 47, one of Vought's developmental assets. Telekinetic abilities, still learning control. This is one of our newer assets, Edgar explained. Enhanced with Compound 5 at age 12. Observe. He nodded to the girl. She raised her hand tentatively, and every object in the room, chairs, tablets, coffee cups, lifted smoothly into the air, floating in perfect formation. The holographic Thrawn tilted his head, observing with keen interest. Impressive control for one so young, Thrawn acknowledged. But Lord Vader possesses similar abilities and far greater mastery. What makes your Compound V valuable to the Empire? Edgar smiled slightly. Because, Admiral, we can mass-produce it. Lord Vader is one individual. We can create thousands of enhanced soldiers with various abilities: strength, speed, durability, energy projection. Imagine Imperial stormtroopers with superhuman capabilities, an army of enhanced enforcers to supplement your forces. Now he had Thrawn's full attention. The Emperor would indeed find such potential. Intriguing, Thrawn said slowly. However, treachery is a concern. How do I know Vought will honor this arrangement? Because I'm a businessman, Admiral, and I recognize when I'm beaten. Edgar's voice remained perfectly calm. You have the power to take Earth by force. I'm offering you a way to do it efficiently while preserving the infrastructure that makes this planet valuable. Vought benefits by surviving. Simple as that. Thrawn studied him for another long moment. I will relay your proposal to Lord Vader and the Emperor. In the meantime, Mr. Edgar, I suggest you prevent your Homelander from causing further damage to Imperial assets. His continued aggression is counterproductive to negotiations. The hologram vanished. Edgar exhaled slowly, then activated his comm. Madeline, get Homelander back here immediately. Tell him it's a direct order from me. Priority Alpha. Stan, he's not going to... Then use whatever leverage you have. Threaten to release the Becca Butcher files. Threaten his position in the 7. I don't care. Just get him down here before Vader kills him and destroys our negotiating position. He ended the call and walked back to the windows. Far above, 2 figures still clashed in combat, their battle tearing through the sky. Edgar poured himself a whiskey, watching calmly. In his experience, every crisis was an opportunity. The key was identifying what the other side wanted and making yourself indispensable in providing it. The Galactic Empire wanted control of Earth. Edgar would give it to them on terms that kept Vought profitable and himself in power. After all, he thought, taking a sip, emperors always needed competent administrators, and he was the most competent man on the planet. "This is fucking brilliant," Billy Butcher said, grinning like a wolf as he watched the battle on multiple stolen monitors in their headquarters. "Absolutely fucking brilliant." The rest of the boys crowded around the screens, their expressions ranging from Huey's horror to Mother's Milk's tactical assessment. Frenchie leaned forward, studying the footage of Vader and Homelander's clash with professional interest. "That armor," Frenchie muttered. "It is not like anything I have seen. The way the energy weapons deflect, and this power he uses, it is like telekinesis but more refined. Mon Dieu." "Forget the armor. Look at Homelander's face," MM said, pointing at a zoomed-in frame. "I've never seen him look scared before. Not once, but right there. That's fear." Butcher laughed, taking a swig from his flask. "Beautiful, innit? The cunt's finally met someone who can put him in his place. All these years we've been trying to find a weapon to kill that star-spangled psychopath, and the universe just drops one in our lap." "Billy, they're invading Earth," Huey protested, his voice strained. "Those ships could kill millions. This isn't good. This is opportunity, Huey boy." Butcher stood, pacing the cramped basement. "Think about it. Vought's power comes from one thing, the supes. They control him, market him, make billions off him. But what happens when a bigger power shows up? What happens when Homelander ain't the top dog anymore?" Kimiko signed rapidly. Frenchie translated. "She says the enemy of our enemy is our friend, but these people, they do not seem friendly to anyone." "Don't need 'em to be friends," Butcher said. "Just need 'em to crack Vought open like an egg. Once that happens, we can pick through the pieces. Get access to their files, their Compound V reserves, their dirty secrets, everything we need to burn the supes down permanently." "That's insane," Huey said. "You want to help alien invaders?" "I want to destroy Vought and kill Homelander," Butcher corrected, his voice hardening. "Been my mission since they murdered Becca. If I gotta make a deal with space Nazis to do it, then so be it. Besides," he gestured at the screens showing Imperial Star Destroyers. "Look at that firepower. We ain't stopping 'em anyway. Might as well use 'em." MM shook his head. "This is wrong, Butcher. We're supposed to protect people, not collaborate with invaders." "Protect people? From who, MM? From the supes who've been murdering, raping, and terrorizing for decades, while Vought covers it up. From Homelander, who could laser a stadium full of kids if his ego gets bruised." Butcher's eyes blazed. "These Empire bastards might be bad, but at least they're honest about it. They ain't pretending to be heroes." The monitors flickered. New footage showed Homelander disengaging from combat, retreating toward Vought Tower with visible scorch marks on his suit. Vader remained hovering above the city, lightsaber extinguished but posture radiating menace. "He's running," Frenchie observed. "Homelander is running away." "First time for everything," Butcher said. "Right, here's what we're gonna do. Huey, you're gonna dig up everything you can find on these Empire wankers, how they communicate, their command structure, what makes them tick. Frenchie, start analyzing their tech. I want to know what that glowing sword is and how we could potentially get our hands on one. MM, coordinate with your military contacts. Someone in the Pentagon's planning a resistance, and we need to know what they're thinking." "And you?" MM asked. Butcher smiled coldly. "I'm gonna reach out to our new friends. Make them an offer they can't refuse." "Billy, you can't seriously watch me." 2 hours later, Butcher stood alone in a parking garage in Queens, the location specified in his transmission to the Imperial fleet. He'd used Vought's own encrypted channels, stolen months ago during a black op, to send a simple message. "Want to know Vaught's weaknesses? Talk to someone who's been trying to destroy them for years. To his satisfaction, they'd responded immediately with coordinates and a time. A high-pitched whine filled the air. Butcher looked up to see a sleek black ship descending, unlike the angular TIE fighters he'd seen on the news. This craft was more refined, with folding wings and what looked like laser cannons mounted on articulated arms. It landed smoothly 30 feet away. The boarding ramp extended. Two figures emerged wearing white armor polished to a gleaming finish, carrying rifle-like weapons with glowing components. Stormtroopers, Butcher recognized from the invasion broadcast. Behind them came a woman in a gray Imperial uniform, her posture military precise, her expression coldly professional. "I am Lieutenant Arden of Imperial Intelligence," she announced, stopping 10 feet from Butcher. "You claim to have information regarding the corporation that controls this world's enhanced individuals. Speak. Right to business. I like that," Butcher said, hands casually in his pockets. "Name's Billy Butcher. I've been fighting Vote International for 5 years, ever since they killed someone I loved. I know their secrets, their vulnerabilities, their dirty laundry. And I'm willing to share it all with you lot." "In exchange for what?" Arden's voice was skeptical. "Credits, position, power." "In exchange for watching them burn," Butcher said simply. "I want Vought destroyed. I want every supie who's committed murder held accountable. I want Homelander dead. You lot seem capable of making that happen." Arden studied him with sharp eyes. "You would betray your own species." "I'd betray the monsters who've been terrorizing my species while wearing capes and selling action figures," Butcher corrected. "Big difference, love. The Empire wants to conquer Earth? Fine. Do it properly. Take down the corrupt bastards running the show first. Expose what they've been hiding. Give people a chance to see their heroes for the psychopaths they really are. That's all I want." One of the stormtroopers shifted, weapon rising slightly. Arden held up a hand, stopping him. "Grand Admiral Thrawn will want to speak with you personally. You will come with us to the command ship." "Figured as much." Butcher walked toward the shuttle without hesitation. "Lead the way." As the craft lifted off, carrying him toward the massive Star Destroyer hanging in orbit, Butcher allowed himself a grim smile. Huey would call this insane. MM would say he'd gone too far. But they didn't understand. Sometimes you had to burn everything down to rebuild it properly. If the Galactic Empire could do what the boys never could, destroy Vought and kill Homelander, then Butcher would gladly hand them Earth on a silver platter. Besides, he thought as the shuttle accelerated toward space, once the Empire dealt with the supes, well, empires could be overthrown too. One problem at a time. The command ship grew larger in the viewport, its gray hull stretching beyond sight. Butcher cracked his knuckles, preparing for the conversation ahead. This was going to be fun. The Imperial occupation of Earth began with surgical precision. Within 72 hours of Vader's ultimatum, Star Destroyers positioned themselves above every major capital city. TIE fighter patrols became a constant presence in the skies. 8 walkers materialized on the streets of Washington, D.C., their massive legs crushing abandoned vehicles as they marched toward the Capitol building. President Robert Singer stood in the Oval Office, surrounded by Joint Chiefs and intelligence officials, watching the feeds with mounting dread. On every screen, the same scene repeated: Imperial forces establishing perimeter zones, stormtrooper battalions securing strategic locations, probe droids scanning everything with cold mechanical efficiency. "We could still launch the nukes," General Mortensen insisted, his jaw clenched. "Hit them now before they dig in deeper. Our submarine fleet could, and kill half our own population in the process," Singer snapped. "Those ships are positioned directly above New York, London, Beijing, Mumbai. We fire nukes, We murder our own citizens. Then what's the alternative, Mr. President? Surrender? Singer had no answer. The military had already attempted conventional engagement. F-35s scrambled to intercept TIE fighters over Los Angeles. The battle lasted 4 minutes. Imperial craft moved with inhuman agility, their laser cannons reducing 12 jets to flaming debris before the pilots could even establish target locks. The footage played on loop across every news network, crushing morale worldwide. "What about the supes?" another general asked. "Vaught's got hundreds of enhanced individuals. If we coordinate a mass assault..." "Vaught's CEO is negotiating with the Empire," the CIA director interrupted, his voice bitter. "Our intelligence suggests Stan Edgar is offering them collaboration in exchange for maintaining corporate control. Half the supes are probably going to defect to whoever pays better. Where's Homelander? He's supposed to be our ace in the hole." "He hasn't been seen since his fight with Vader 3 days ago," Singer said quietly. "According to our sources inside Vought, he's locked himself in his penthouse and won't respond to anyone." The room fell silent. "So America's greatest hero is hiding," Mortensen said flatly. "Fantastic." On the streets of Manhattan, New York had transformed into an occupied city. Stormtroopers patrolled Times Square, their white armor stark against the neon advertisements that still flickered defiantly. Citizens moved through checkpoints established at major intersections, their IDs scanned by probe droids hovering at eye level. The droids chirped and beeped, processing data with mechanical indifference. Most people complied. What choice did they have? The Empire's broadcast had been clear. Resistance meant destruction. Already, footage circulated of a militia group in Texas that had opened fire on an Imperial patrol. The stormtroopers had called in an orbital strike. The entire compound had been reduced to molten glass in seconds, visible from space. But not everyone submitted quietly. In Brooklyn, a group of young supes gathered in an abandoned warehouse, low-tier heroes from Vaught's developmental program, kids with powers but no corporate contracts. A teenager with lightning crackling around his fists stood atop a crate, addressing the crowd. "They think they can just take our world? Just claim Earth like we're nothing?" His voice shook with adolescent rage. "We have powers. We're supposed to be heroes. Are we really going to let these alien fascists walk all over us?" "Homelander couldn't stop them," someone called out. "If he can't win, what chance do we have?" "Maybe that's because Homelander only cares about himself," the Lightning Kid shouted. "But if we work together, if all the supes unite..." The warehouse doors exploded inward. Stormtroopers poured through the breach, their E-11 blaster rifles raised. "By order of the Galactic Empire, you are under arrest for conspiracy to commit insurgent activities." The Lightning Kid's hands blazed. "Scatter! Fight back!" Chaos erupted. Lightning bolts lanced toward the stormtroopers, striking armor and sending 2 soldiers flying backward. A girl with super strength grabbed a metal beam and swung it like a bat, crushing 3 troopers in a single arc. Another supe turned invisible, trying to flank the Imperial forces. But the Empire had faced force-sensitive insurgents across 100 worlds. These children were powerful but untrained, brave but tactically incompetent. Stormtroopers maintained formation, laying down, suppressing fire. Blaster bolts, superheated plasma, not bullets, punched through supe flesh with devastating efficiency. Powers that made them gods among humans proved inadequate against military precision and superior firepower. The Lightning Kid took a blaster bolt to the shoulder and collapsed, screaming. The invisible supe was detected by thermal scanners and shot twice in the back. Within 90 seconds, the resistance was over. Imperial intelligence officers moved through the aftermath, scanning the survivors. One officer knelt beside the Lightning Kid, studying the energy still sparking weakly around his trembling hands. "Fascinating," The officer murmured into his calm. "These enhanced individuals? Lord Vader will want to see this personally." Across Earth, similar scenes played out. In Chicago, a supe with super speed tried to sabotage an Imperial supply depot. AT-STs, two-legged scout walkers, tracked his movement with advanced sensors and cut him down with precise laser fire. In London, a team of European heroes attempted to destroy a landed Star Destroyer. They managed to breach the outer hull before Vader himself appeared, using the Force to hurl all 7 heroes off the ship simultaneously. They plummeted 500 feet. None survived, but the Empire also found collaborators. In Los Angeles, a C-list hero called Firecracker, desperate for relevance and paycheck, approached an Imperial checkpoint with her hands raised. "I want to make a deal. I'll work for you. Tell you which supes are planning resistance, where they hide, what their powers are. Just put me on salary and keep me safe." The Imperial officer didn't hesitate. "Your offer is accepted. Report to Sector Command for assignment." Firecracker wasn't alone. Dozens of minor supes, seeing the writing on the wall, offered their services to the Empire. Those with useful abilities, telepathy, enhanced senses, technological aptitude, were integrated into Imperial operations. Those without were catalogued and placed under surveillance. At Vote Tower, Ashley Barrett frantically managed the crisis. Half the company's heroes were dead or missing. Another quarter had gone underground or joined resistance cells. The remainder waited nervously in the tower, unsure whether to fight, flee, or negotiate. "Where's Stan?" Ashley demanded into her phone. "We need direction. The board is panicking. Shareholders are dumping stock, and we've got supes asking whether they should surrender to the Empire or—" "Mr. Edgar is aboard the Imperial command ship," her assistant replied. "He's been there for 8 hours. No communication." Ashley hung up and pressed her palms against her desk, breathing hard. The world was ending. Volt was collapsing, and their CEO was having tea with the invaders. She needed to do something, take action, save the company somehow. Her phone buzzed. Private message. She opened it and her blood ran cold. "Ashley Barrett, you are hereby summoned to the Imperial Star Destroyer Chimera for interrogation regarding Volt International's operational structure. Non-compliance will result in immediate arrest. You have 2 hours to report voluntarily. Imperial Intelligence." Her hands shook. She looked out the floor-to-ceiling windows at the massive gray ship hanging in the sky like a sword over the city. 2 hours. She grabbed her coat and headed for the elevator, already composing her pitch in her head. Whatever the Empire wanted to know about Volt, she'd tell them. Survival was all that mattered now. Survival and maybe, just maybe, securing a position in the new order. The elevator descended toward the lobby where an Imperial shuttle waited. Earth was falling. Not with a bang, but with terrified whispers and desperate bargains. Some resisted and died. Some collaborated and lived. And some, like Billy Butcher watching it all from his hideout, smiled grimly and prepared for the next phase. The occupation had begun. What came next would determine whether humanity survived as anything more than subjects of a galactic empire. Darth Vader's personal meditation chamber aboard the Executor was a sphere of absolute darkness, illuminated only by the faint glow of control panels and the steady pulse of his life support systems. The Dark Lord sat in his specialized chair, helmet removed, breathing apparatus directly connected to the chamber's environmental controls. In this sanctuary, he could exist without the mask, though the scars covering his ravaged face remained a testament to Mustafar's flames. Before him, secured in a transparent containment field, floated a single vial of amber liquid. Compound V. Vader had studied the substance extensively since Stan Edgar's presentation. The biological mechanism fascinated him, a serum that could rewrite human DNA, unlocking latent abilities that manifested as superhuman powers: strength, speed, energy, projection, flight. Abilities that in the galaxy far away would mark someone as force-sensitive, yet here they existed purely through biochemical enhancement. "My lord," Grand Admiral Thrawn's voice came through the chamber's calm. "The latest analysis is complete. Should I transmit the findings?" "Proceed," Vader commanded, his unmasked voice rasping without the mechanical filter. Data scrolled across holographic displays. Thrawn's cultured voice narrated the key points. Compound V is remarkably stable for such a potent mutagen. The Vault scientists have refined it to minimize rejection rates, though approximately 37% of subjects still experience fatal reactions. Those who survive gain abilities seemingly at random, determined by genetic factors we have yet to fully understand. Vader absorbed the information, his scarred fingers steepled before him. "And the Force? Can you detect midi-chlorian interaction?" "That is where the findings become intriguing, my lord." Thrawn paused. "We detected no natural midi-chlorians in Earth's population. Their connection to the Force is negligible, nearly non-existent. Yet Compound V appears to create synthetic pathways that mimic Force sensitivity. The enhanced individuals generate energy signatures similar to those produced by actual Force wielders, but the mechanism is entirely biological rather than metaphysical." "Fascinating," Vader murmured. "They have created artificial Force sensitivity through chemistry alone." "Indeed. Which raises a question, my lord. What would happen if we administered Compound V to individuals who already possess genuine Force connection? Could we enhance Force abilities beyond their natural limits?" Vader's breathing, maintained by the chamber's systems, remained steady, but his mind raced with possibilities. The Emperor had long sought methods to amplify Force powers, experimenting with Sith alchemy and ancient techniques. But this was unprecedented. A scientific approach to something that had always been mystical. "Bring me test subjects," Vader ordered. "Force-sensitive prisoners from the detention levels. And summon the Vault. Scientists who developed Compound Vi. I wish to speak with them personally." "At once, my lord. However, there is another matter requiring your attention. The human who calls himself Billy Butcher has provided extensive intelligence on Vault's operations. His information has proven accurate and valuable. He requests an audience with you directly." "Why?" "He claims to know the psychological weaknesses of the being called Homelander. According to Butcher, Homelander's power is matched only by his emotional instability. Butcher believes he can manipulate Homelander into making critical errors that would benefit our occupation." Vader considered this. During his brief combat with Homelander, he had sensed the supes' inner turmoil, rage barely contained, desperate need for validation, profound insecurity masked by arrogance. The pattern was familiar. Vader had once been Anakin Skywalker, driven by similar fears and hungers. "Arrange the meeting," Vader decided. "This Butcher may prove useful, and Thrawn, accelerate the Compound V analysis. The Emperor will want results." "Understood, my lord." The connection ended. Vader reattached his helmet with a hiss of pressurized seals, once again becoming the faceless Dark Lord of the Sith. He rose from his chair, moving to the containment field holding the Compound V sample. Power. That's what this truly represented. Not just physical enhancement, but the potential to create armies of superhuman soldiers loyal to the Empire. The Stormtrooper Corps was effective through discipline and numbers, but enhanced Stormtroopers would be devastating. Imperial Inquisitors with artificially boosted Force abilities could hunt Jedi survivors with unprecedented efficiency. But there were dangers too. The randomness of Compound V's effects, the high fatality rate, the psychological instability it seemed to induce in many subjects. Homelander was merely the most extreme example, a godlike being with the emotional maturity of a spoiled child. Such power without control was dangerous, even to its wielder. Vader's thoughts were interrupted by another communication. "Lord Vader, this is Detention Level 3. One of the Force-sensitive prisoners you requested for testing has... My lord, he's attempting to breach containment using the Force. His power level is extraordinary. We need..." Vader was already moving. He strode through the corridors of the Executor, stormtroopers and officers pressing themselves against the walls as he passed. The detention level was 4 decks below his meditation chamber. He took the turbo lift, descending rapidly. When the doors opened, chaos greeted him. The prisoner, a former Jedi Padawan captured during Order 66's aftermath, kept alive for interrogation, had somehow broken free. 2 stormtroopers lay unconscious against the walls. Another hung suspended in midair, choking as the Padawan held him aloft with one outstretched hand. "You'll never break me," the Padawan shouted, his young face twisted with defiance. "The Jedi will rise again. The Empire will..." Vader's hand shot out. The Force choke seized the Padawan instantly, cutting off his words. The stormtrooper dropped to the floor, gasping. Vader walked forward slowly, the Padawan's feet lifting from the ground as the invisible pressure increased. "The Jedi are extinct," Vader stated coldly. "You are a relic clinging to a dead religion, but you may yet serve the Empire's purposes." He gestured, and the cell doors opened. Inside, secured to a medical table, another prisoner awaited, a captured rebel soldier, Force-sensitive but untrained, scheduled for execution. Perfect for testing. "Bring the vault scientists here," Vader commanded. "And bring the Compound V samples. We begin experimentation immediately." The lead scientist, a nervous man named Dr. Jonah Vogelbaum, arrived within minutes, flanked by Imperial guards. He stared at the prisoners with wide eyes. "Lord Vader, I must protest. We don't know how Compound V will interact with whatever power these individuals possess. The results could be catastrophic." "Then we shall observe carefully," Vader replied. "Administer the compound to the untrained subject first. Standard dosage." Vogelbaum's hands shook as he prepared the injection. The rebel prisoner struggled against his restraints, eyes wild with fear. "No, please, I don't..." The needle pierced his arm. Amber liquid flowed into his bloodstream. For 10 seconds, nothing happened. Then the prisoner's back arched, straining against the restraints. His eyes blazed with sudden blue light. Not the yellow of the dark side, but something else entirely. Energy crackled across his skin, objects in the room beginning to levitate without conscious direction. "Fascinating," Vader breathed, watching through the Force as the prisoner's midi-chlorian count spiked dramatically. The Compound 5 was amplifying his natural Force sensitivity, creating feedback loops of power that grew exponentially. Then the prisoner started screaming. The energy became unstable, arcing wildly. The medical table exploded into fragments. The prisoner rose into the air, surrounded by a corona of crackling blue energy, his body convulsing. "Too much," Vogelbaum shouted. "His nervous system can't handle the..." The prisoner's body detonated. Not metaphorically, literally detonated in a blast of Force energy that shattered every window in the detention level and sent everyone flying backward. Only Vader remained standing, his lightsaber ignited, having erected a Force barrier that absorbed the explosion's impact. When the smoke cleared, nothing remained of the prisoner except a scorch mark on the floor. Vader deactivated his lightsaber, studying the aftermath with cold calculation. Reduce the dosage by 70%. Try again with the Padawan. "My lord, this is madness. We could destroy the entire ship if..." "Then ensure your calculations are precise, Doctor." Vader's voice dropped to a menacing whisper. "The Emperor desires results. You will provide them, or you will join your test subject." Vogelbaum swallowed hard and nodded, returning to his equipment with trembling hands. Vader watched as preparations began for the second test. The Empire had conquered thousands of worlds through superior firepower and tactical brilliance. But this universe offered something new, a way to enhance power through science rather than merely training or natural ability. If they could perfect the process, if they could create force-sensitive super soldiers loyal to the Emperor, the possibilities were intoxicating and terrifying. Billy Butcher stood in the hangar bay of the Executor, surrounded by TIE fighters and Imperial walkers, watching as Darth Vader approached. The Dark Lord's mechanical breathing echoed through the massive space, each step deliberate and unhurried. Stormtroopers flanked him, their weapons trained on Butcher, but the man showed no fear. He'd faced Homelander up close. Compared to that star-spangled psychopath, even this armored bastard was just another bully with power. "Billy Butcher," Vader intoned, stopping 10 feet away. "Grand Admiral Thrawn reports you have been cooperative. You provide intelligence against your own world's defenders. Why?" "Because they ain't defenders, mate," Butcher replied, meeting Vader's masked gaze. "They're monsters wearing capes. Vought supes have killed thousands over the years. Collateral damage they cover up, people they murder for fun, experiments they conduct on civilians. I've seen toddlers injected with Compound V until their hearts exploded, all so Vought could perfect the formula. I've watched Homelander laser a plane full of passengers and then smile for cameras. These cunts ain't heroes. They're products, and bad products at that." Vader tilted his head slightly. "Yet you worked with them. Thrawn's intelligence indicates you once collaborated with certain enhanced individuals. Different circumstances. Needed their help to expose Vought's corruption." Butcher's voice hardened. "But that was before I realized the whole system's rotten. You can't reform it, can't fix it. Only thing left is to burn it down and start over." "And you believe the Empire will do this?" "I believe you've got the firepower and the will to break Vought's stranglehold on Earth. After that?" Butcher shrugged. "One problem at a time. Right now, you and me, we got common enemies. That's enough." Vader studied him through the Force, sensing the rage burning beneath Butcher's Cockney exterior. This man had been broken by loss, transformed by grief into something dangerous and single-minded. The pattern was familiar. Pain transmuted into purpose, love twisted into hatred. Vader had walked that path himself. "You mentioned Homelander's psychological weaknesses," Vader said. "Elaborate." Butcher's smile was predatory. "Right then. Homelander's the most powerful supe on Earth, yeah? But he's also the most fragile. His whole identity is built on being loved, worshipped, adored. He needs it like a drug. You saw how he reacted when you challenged him. Pure rage, no strategy, just a tantrum. That's who he is underneath the costume. A scared little boy desperate for approval. This benefits the Empire how? Because you can manipulate him," Butcher explained, warming to the subject. "Homelander's locked himself away since your fight, probably crying in his penthouse. His ego's shattered. But if you play it right, you can turn that. Offer him a path back to relevance. Tell him he could be greater than he is, that the Empire recognizes his potential, that you'll make him a lord or general or whatever bollocks title appeals to his narcissism. He'll eat it up. You suggest I recruit him." Vader's tone was skeptical. "I suggest you let him think you're recruiting him while you figure out how to put him down permanently," Butcher corrected. "Keep him close, learn his vulnerabilities, then put a lightsaber through his skull when he's not expecting it. Same thing you lot probably do to any powerful subordinate who gets too ambitious, yeah? Vader said nothing, but Butcher caught the slight shift in posture. He'd guessed right. The thing about Homelander, Butcher continued, is that he's predictable. Give him attention and he'll do anything. Threaten his image and he'll lash out like a child. Use that. Promise him glory serving the Empire. Parade him in front of crowds. Make him feel special. Then, when his guard's down, Butcher made a throat-slitting gesture. You have given this considerable thought. Been planning how to kill that cunt for 5 years, mate. Just never had the means to actually do it. You do. Vader turned slightly, gazing out at the hangar's massive opening where Earth hung visible in the void. And the other enhanced individuals, those who might resist Imperial occupation. Most'll fold, Butcher said. Supes are cowards when they face real opposition. You saw what happened to those kids in Brooklyn. They got powers but no backbone. The ones who might actually fight back? I've got files on all of them. Names, addresses, power sets, psychological profiles, everything Vought collected over decades. It's yours if you guarantee one thing. Which is? When this is over, when you've broken Vought and pacified Earth, I want Homelander delivered to me, alive, just for 10 minutes. Vader regarded Butcher with new interest. You wish to personally kill him. I wish to watch him realize he's nothing, Butcher corrected, his voice dropping to a venomous whisper. I want him to know that all his power, all his posturing, all his fake heroism meant fuck all in the end. That he's just another dead bastard who thought being strong made him invincible. Then, yeah, I'll kill him. Slowly. The Dark Lord was silent for a long moment, the only sound his mechanical breathing. Finally, he spoke. Your hatred is powerful, Mr. Butcher. It drives you with remarkable focus. However, hatred alone is insufficient. The Empire requires loyalty, not merely temporary alignment of interests. Then don't trust me, Butcher said flatly. Use me until I'm not useful anymore, then do whatever you do to people who outlive their purpose. I don't care. Long as Homelander dies and Vought burns, I'll cooperate fully. After that, you can space me for all I give a shit. Vader raised one hand. Butcher felt invisible pressure around his throat. Not choking, just present, a reminder of power. You are either remarkably brave or remarkably foolish, speaking so casually of your own expendability. Bit of both, probably. Butcher managed, not struggling against the Force grip. But I'm also right, and you know it. You need someone who understands these supes, who knows how they think, who can predict their moves. That's me. So yeah, keep your hand around my throat if it makes you feel powerful. Just remember, I'm offering you the keys to this whole bloody planet. The pressure released. Vader lowered his hand. Very well, Mr. Butcher. You will serve as an advisor on enhanced individual psychology and tactics. You will provide the files you mentioned, and you will assist in locating the remaining Vought leadership for interrogation. In exchange, Homelander will be delivered to you, eventually. Eventually. First, he must be useful. As you suggested, his power and recognizability make him valuable for establishing Imperial authority. Once that purpose is served, your request will be granted. Vader turned to leave, then paused. One more thing, Mr. Butcher. I sense you have allies, others who share your mission. Where are they? Butcher's jaw tightened. Safe, and they stay that way. That's non-negotiable. I do not negotiate with assets, Vader said coldly. However, I am not unreasonable. If your allies can provide additional value, they will be protected as you are. If they interfere with Imperial operations, they will be eliminated. Simple as that. Before Butcher could respond, an alarm blared through the hangar. Red lights flashed. A calm officer's voice crackled over the speakers. Alert! Multiple enhanced individuals have breached the lower decks. Security teams are engaging, but, my lord, they're fighting their way toward the detention levels. Vader's cape swirled as he spun toward the exit. Remain here, he commanded Butcher, then strode toward the turbo lift, his lightsaber already in hand. Butcher watched him go, then smiled grimly. Rescue attempt. Had to be the boys, possibly with some supe allies. Stupid, brave, and exactly what he'd expect from his team. He touched the hidden comm device in his jacket. Huey, you daft bastard, please tell me that ain't you making noise on this ship. Static. Then Huey's panicked voice. Billy, we're getting chewed up. They've got these white armored soldiers everywhere, and Kimiko can't even... Get out now, Butcher hissed. Abort the mission, get back to the shuttle, and... The comm went dead. Butcher closed his eyes, exhaling slowly. Then he ran toward the hangar's exit, ignoring the stormtroopers shouting at him to halt. If his team was about to die on this ship, he'd damn well die with them. Some loyalties couldn't be bargained away, even for revenge. Huey Campbell had known this was a terrible idea from the start, but arguing with Mother's Milk once he'd made up his mind was like arguing with a brick wall. Now, running through the sterile corridors of an Imperial Star Destroyer, while stormtroopers fired plasma bolts that sizzled past his head, Huey realized just how terrible. Left! Go left! MM shouted, clutching a stolen blaster rifle he'd barely figured out how to fire. Behind them, Kimiko moved like a lethal shadow, snapping the necks of pursuing stormtroopers with brutal efficiency. Frenchie provided covering fire, his stolen Imperial weapon surprisingly accurate in his experienced hands. They'd infiltrated the Executor using a commandeered Imperial shuttle, courtesy of a raid on a landing zone in New Jersey, with the desperate plan of rescuing Butcher and gathering intelligence on the Empire's capabilities. The plan had lasted approximately 7 minutes before every alarm in the ship activated. This way! A-Train appeared from around a corner, his super speed making him a blur even in the confining corridors. There's a detention block 2 levels down. If they're holding prisoners, that's where... A blast door slammed shut, cutting off his words. Red lights bathed the corridor in crimson emergency lighting. Attention, intruders, a calm female voice announced over the intercom. You are trapped in Section 7 Alpha. Surrender immediately or be terminated. This is your only warning. Bollocks to that, came a familiar voice. Billy Butcher emerged from a side passage, breathing hard, a stolen blaster in his hand. Told you wankers to stay put. What part of I've got this handled was unclear? The part where you're collaborating with space fascists, MM snapped. Billy, what the hell are you thinking? These people are invaders. I'm thinking I'm using them to destroy Vogt, which is what we've always wanted. Butcher fired twice at an approaching stormtrooper, the plasma bolts striking center mass and dropping the soldier. Now shut it and follow me before... The corridor temperature plummeted. Frost appeared on the walls. Every member of the boys felt it simultaneously, a presence approaching, vast and terrible, pressing down on their minds like a physical weight. Oh shit, Huey whispered. Oh shit, that's him! Darth Vader emerged from the turbo lift at the corridor's end, lightsaber ignited and blazing crimson. His cape billowed despite the lack of wind, and his breathing echoed like a death knell. You are trespassing on an Imperial vessel, Vader announced, his voice resonating with dark authority. Surrender, or be destroyed. Our train was fastest. He blurred forward, intending to speed past Vader and escape through the turbo lift. He'd moved faster than bullets, faster than explosions, faster than any human eye could follow. Vader's hand shot out. A train froze mid-stride, suspended in mid-air by the Force, his legs still pumping uselessly. Impressive speed, Vader observed. But speed is meaningless if you cannot escape the Force itself. He clenched his fist. A train gasped, clutching his chest. My heart. You're stopping my... Billy! Raised his blaster, firing at Vader. The Dark Lord's lightsaber moved in a blur, deflecting every shot back toward its origin. Dove aside as his own plasma bolts scorched the wall where he'd stood. Kimiko charged with a feral scream. Vader didn't even look at her. A force push sent her flying backward, crashing into Frenchie and sending both tumbling down the corridor. "Stop!" Huey shouted, his voice cracking. "Just stop! We surrender, okay? We surrender!" "Huey, no," Butcher began. "Billy, he's killing us." Huey dropped his weapon, hands raised. "Please, we were just trying to rescue our friend. We didn't know he was working with you. We'll leave. Just let us go." Vader released A-Train, who collapsed to the floor, gasping. The Dark Lord's masked gaze swept across the boys, and Huey felt those eyes, hidden behind a black mask but somehow visible in his mind, assessing, calculating, judging. "You infiltrated an Imperial Star Destroyer to rescue one man," Vader said slowly. "Foolish, suicidal, but loyal." He deactivated his lightsaber. "Billy Butcher, these are your allies." "Unfortunately," Butcher muttered, helping to his feet. "And they're idiots who don't follow orders." "We thought you were captured," protested. "You thought wrong. I'm exactly where I need to be." Butcher glared at his team. "Working the long game, same as always. But now you've gone and blown my cover, haven't you?" Vader studied them with cold assessment. These individuals possess no enhanced abilities, yet they challenged Imperial forces. Their courage exceeds their capabilities significantly. He turned to Butcher. "You claimed they could provide value. Prove it. Now." Butcher's mind raced. He needed to say something that would keep his team alive while not compromising their integrity completely. "They've got connections I don't. Huey here worked at Vogt, knows their internal systems, their security protocols. MM's got contacts in the military and intelligence agencies. Frenchie's a weapons expert who's dealt with experimental compound V derivatives. And Kimiko..." He gestured at the young woman who was glaring at Vader with murder in her eyes. "She's proof of what compound V can do when it's administered to an adult. She's a weapon, and she knows how to survive." "Interesting." Vader approached Kimiko, who tensed but didn't back down. "You are enhanced. I sense it. Yet your power signature differs from the others we have encountered. Why?" Kimiko signed rapidly. Frenchie translated, his voice wary. "She says Compound V was forced on her by traffickers when she was 24. Adult administration is far more traumatic and unpredictable than childhood injection. She is stronger and heals faster, but she also suffers greater psychological damage. And yet you fight for these humans who cannot match your abilities. Why?" More signing. Frenchie swallowed hard before translating. "Because they see her as a person, not a weapon. Because they are family." Something flickered in Vader's posture, so subtle that most wouldn't notice, but Huey saw it. A moment of hesitation, of recognition. Like Vader understood that sentiment more deeply than he'd admit. "Very well," Vader said finally. "Billy Butcher's team will be granted provisional asylum aboard this vessel. You will assist with intelligence gathering and strategic planning regarding Vault International's operations. Attempt to escape or sabotage Imperial operations, and you will be executed. Understood?" "We ain't traitors," said quietly. "We're not going to help you conquer Earth." "Then you misunderstand the situation," Vader replied, his voice dropping to a menacing whisper. "Earth is already conquered. The only question remaining is whether its transition to Imperial rule will be orderly or bathed in blood. Assist us in eliminating Vogt's corruption, and millions of lives may be spared. Resist, and watch your world burn." He turned to leave. "Choose wisely. The Empire's patience is not infinite. He strode back toward the turbo lift, leaving the boys standing in the corridor surrounded by stormtroopers with weapons trained on them. "Billy," Huey whispered once Vader was gone, "what have we gotten ourselves into?" "Survival, mate," Butcher's voice was grim. "We play along, feed them enough to keep breathing, and wait for an opening. Same as always." "This ain't the same," MM countered. "These people aren't Vought. They're not even from our world. We help them. We're collaborating with an alien invasion force. And if we don't help them, we're dead along with everyone else," Butcher shot back. "Look, I don't like it either. But right now we got two choices. Work with the Empire and maybe, find a way to protect some people in the process or die pointlessly in this hallway. I choose living. You?" The team exchanged glances. Finally, reluctantly, they all nodded. A-Train, still clutching his chest where Vader had squeezed his heart, spoke for the first time since recovering. "For what it's worth, I'm with you. That Homelander bastard threw me away the moment I wasn't useful. At least you guys came back for each other." Frenchie helped Kimiko to her feet. "So we are prisoners who cooperate. C'est magnifique. Just like old times, non?" "Yeah," Huey said weakly. "Just like old times, except the bad guys have laser swords and can choke you without touching you." "Details," Butcher said, but his expression was darker than his flippant tone suggested. As stormtroopers escorted them toward detention-turned quarters, Huey looked back at the corridor where they'd nearly died. Somewhere on this massive ship, an empire was planning Earth's future. And somehow, impossibly, the boys were now part of those plans. He wondered if there was any way this ended without catastrophe. Probably not. But then again, catastrophe was kind of their specialty. The battle for Earth began not with declarations or ultimatums, but with a transmission that changed everything. Homelander's face appeared on every screen across the planet: television, phone, computer, billboard. But this wasn't the confident, camera-ready hero the world knew. His eyes were red-rimmed, his hair disheveled, his expression raw with something between rage and desperation. "People of Earth," he began, his voice trembling. "For weeks, I've watched these invaders occupy our world. I've watched you surrender, collaborate, hide. And I've been silent because I was afraid." The admission clearly pained him. Darth Vader hurt me, humiliated me, made me question everything I am. But I realized something. I'm Homelander. I'm your hero, and I won't let some alien fascist take that away. Behind him, the camera pulled back to reveal others. Queen Maeve, her armor polished and expression grim. Starlight, young and determined. Black Noir, silent and ready. A-Train. No, wait. It wasn't A-Train. This was a different speedster, one of the backup supes Vought kept in reserve. And dozens more, heroes from across the globe, assembled in what looked like an abandoned Vought facility. "Today, we fight back," Homelander declared, his voice growing stronger. "Today, we remind the Empire that Earth has defenders, that we have gods." His eyes began to glow crimson. "And gods don't kneel to anyone." The transmission ended. Aboard the Executor, alarms immediately erupted. "Lord Vader!" an officer shouted. Multiple enhanced individuals converging on Imperial positions worldwide. New York, London, Beijing, Moscow. They're attacking simultaneously. Vader stood on the bridge of the Superstar Destroyer, watching tactical displays light up with contact markers. Dozens of supes, moving with coordinated precision that surprised him. Vought had finally committed their assets to open warfare. "Thrawn," Vader said into his comm. "Your assessment." The Chiss Admiral's hologram materialized. A desperate gambit. Homelander has united the enhanced individuals under a banner of resistance. Their strategy appears to be overwhelming our ground forces through superior individual power while we're spread across multiple cities. It's not entirely foolish. Our stormtroopers are effective against conventional forces, but these beings require specialized tactics. Then we shall provide them. Vader's hand curled into a fist. Deploy all TIE fighter squadrons, recall the AT-AT walkers to defensive positions, and prepare the Inquisitors. It's time they earn their keep. In New York, chaos erupted. Homelander descended on the Imperial checkpoint in Times Square like an avenging angel, his heat vision lancing out to melt through an AT-ST walker's cockpit. The two-legged walker collapsed, crushing two stormtroopers beneath its bulk. "Come on," Homelander roared, his voice amplified across the square. "Is that the best your Empire can do?" Queen Maeve hit the ground. Next to him, her superhuman strength allowing her to flip an Imperial troop transport end over end. Starlight's energy blasts scattered a stormtrooper formation, while the new speedster, going by the name Shockwave, created a whirlwind that sent Imperial soldiers tumbling through the air. For the first time since the invasion began, the Empire's forces were in retreat, but only for a moment. TIE fighters screamed overhead, their twin ion engines howling. Laser cannons opened fire, tracking the supes with computer-assisted precision. Starlight threw up an energy shield, deflecting the blasts, but the sustained bombardment drove her to one knee. "There's too many of them." "Then we hit them harder." Homelander shot skyward, pursuing the TIE fighters into the air. He'd learned from his first encounter with Imperial craft. They were fast and maneuverable, but fragile. His fists punched through one fighter's cockpit, sending it spiraling into a building. He grabbed another by its wing and simply ripped it off, the craft exploding in midair. But for every TIE he destroyed, two more appeared. In London, a different battle raged. A supe called Stormfront, electricity crackling around her body, engaged an entire platoon of Imperial forces outside Buckingham Palace. Her lightning bolts fried circuits and overloaded systems, but the stormtroopers adapted quickly, switching to EMP-shielded equipment and establishing overlapping fields of fire that forced her to constantly dodge. "You invaded the wrong planet," she screamed, unleashing a massive electrical discharge that arced across 24 soldiers. They collapsed, smoke rising from their armor. Then she heard it, a sound that made her blood run cold, the distinctive snap hiss of a lightsaber igniting. The Inquisitor emerged from the smoke, a tall figure in black armor, face hidden behind a helmet with red eye slits, spinning double-bladed lightsaber humming with deadly promise. "The Emperor sends his regards," the Inquisitor said, voice distorted by vocoder. Stormfront attacked with everything she had. Lightning cascaded from her hands in torrents, enough electricity to power a city block. The Inquisitor's lightsaber spun in a perfect defensive form, the plasma blade somehow grounding the electrical attacks, dissipating them harmlessly. "Impossible," Stormfront gasped. "Inevitable," the Inquisitor replied, and attacked. The duel lasted 43 seconds. Stormfront was powerful but untrained in combat against an opponent who could counter her abilities. The spinning lightsaber carved through her defenses, and a precise thrust through her chest ended the fight. She collapsed, smoke rising from the cauterized wound, dead before she hit the ground. The Inquisitor activated their comm. Target eliminated, moving to next objective. Across Earth, similar scenes played out. Supes fought with desperate courage, their powers creating spectacular displays of destruction. But the Empire had fought. Force-sensitive rebels, Jedi survivors, and alien warriors across 1,000 worlds. They knew how to adapt, how to coordinate, how to grind down even superhuman opposition through superior tactics and overwhelming firepower. In Beijing, a telekinetic supe found herself unable to affect Imperial walkers after they deployed localized gravity disruptors. In Moscow, a shapeshifter was detected and eliminated by thermal scanners that saw through his disguises. In Mumbai, a supe who could phase through solid matter walked straight into an energy field specifically designed to contain Force ghosts, trapping him until stormtroopers arrived. The Empire was learning, evolving, countering. And then Vader himself entered the battlefield. He descended on New York in a modified TIE, advanced, its wings cutting through the air with predatory grace. The starfighter's weapons strafed the street, forcing the assembled supes to scatter. Vader landed in the center of Times Square, lightsaber ignited, cape billowing. "Homelander," his mechanically amplified voice echoed across the square. "Face me if you dare." The response came immediately. Homelander slammed into the ground 30 feet away, his landing cratering the pavement. Blood streaked his face from a glancing hit by a TIE fighter, and his costume was scorched in a dozen places. But his eyes blazed with undiminished fury. "I'm going to kill you," Homelander snarled, "slowly, painfully, and everyone's going to watch." "You are welcome to try," Vader replied calmly. They charged simultaneously. Homelander's fist met Vader's palm, the impact generating a shockwave that shattered windows for 3 blocks. Vader's lightsaber came up in a sweeping arc. Homelander twisted midair, the plasma blade missing his face by inches. Heat vision lanced out. Vader deflected it with a force barrier, the energy splashing harmlessly against invisible shields. They exchanged blows with devastating speed. Vader's lightsaber technique was perfect, centuries of Jedi and Sith knowledge distilled into lethal precision. Homelander's raw power was staggering, each punch carrying enough force to dent Durasteel. They were evenly matched in a way that made the watching supes and stormtroopers alike pause in their own conflicts. But Vader had something Homelander lacked: discipline. While Homelander fought with rage and desperation, Vader remained cold, calculating, patient. He studied his opponent's patterns, identified openings, waited for the perfect moment. It came when Homelander overextended on a wild haymaker. Vader sidestepped, his lightsaber slashing across Homelander's arm. The plasma blade cut deep, cauterizing instantly but inflicting genuine pain. Homelander screamed, stumbling backward. "You are strong," Vader acknowledged, advancing slowly. "But strength without control is merely flailing. You will never defeat me through rage alone." "Shut up," Homelander's eyes blazed, twin beams of heat vision firing at maximum intensity. Vader caught them, not with his lightsaber, but with the Force itself, his outstretched hands creating a barrier that absorbed and redirected the energy. The heat vision bent around him, scorching the pavement on either side. "Impossible," Homelander whispered, his voice breaking. You can't." "I can." Vader thrust his hand forward and Homelander flew backward, hurled by the Force into a building facade. The structure cracked from the impact. Before Homelander could recover, Vader was on him, lightsaber raised for a killing blow. "Wait!" The shout came from an unexpected source. Stan Edgar emerged from a nearby Imperial transport, flanked by stormtroopers, his expression urgent. "Lord Vader, the Emperor has sent new orders. Homelander is to be taken alive." Vader paused, his lightsaber millimeters from Homelander's throat. "Explain." "The Emperor has reviewed our reports on Compound V and its potential applications. He wishes to study Homelander personally to understand how such power can be replicated and enhanced. His Majesty believes Homelander represents the pinnacle of this world's enhancement technology." Edgar's voice remained clinical even as he potentially saved Homelander's life. "He is more valuable as a test subject than a corpse." Vader considered this for a long moment. Then, slowly, he deactivated his lightsaber. His hand shot out, force-choking Homelander into unconsciousness. The mightiest Supey on Earth went limp. "Very well," Vader said. "Bring him to the Executor, and Edgar, inform the remaining enhanced individuals that their leader has fallen. Offer them one final chance to surrender." As stormtroopers secured Homelander's unconscious form, the other Supeys watching from nearby rooftops felt their resistance crumble. Queen Maeve's shoulders sagged, Starlight's energy aura flickered and died. Black Noir simply vanished into the shadows, retreating. The battle for Earth was over. The Empire had won. 3 weeks after Homelander's defeat, Earth had transformed into an Imperial territory in all but name. Vought Tower had been seized and converted into Imperial governance headquarters. Stan Edgar maintained his CEO position, but now reported directly to Grand Admiral Thrawn, who administered Earth with the same calculated efficiency he'd applied to dozens of conquered worlds. Imperial star destroyers remained in orbit as permanent reminders of the new order, while TIE fighter patrols became as common as police helicopters once were. The supes who'd fought in the Resistance faced a choice: submit to Imperial authority or be hunted down. Most chose submission. Queen Maeve publicly announced her retirement, disappearing into obscurity under Imperial surveillance. Starlight was allowed to continue limited heroic activities under strict oversight, essentially becoming a propaganda tool for Imperial benevolence. The Deep, who'd hidden throughout the conflict, eagerly volunteered his services and was assigned to monitor Earth's oceans for Resistance activity. Black Noir remained at large, now Earth's most wanted fugitive. In the Executor's research wing, Dr. Vogelbaum worked alongside Imperial scientists on projects that would have been unthinkable weeks ago. Compound V synthesis had been replicated using Imperial technology, allowing for more stable formulations with reduced fatality rates. Test subjects, volunteers and prisoners alike, underwent controlled enhancement under careful observation. Some experiments succeeded. Imperial stormtroopers with enhanced strength and durability began emerging from the program, creating elite units that surpassed standard clone trooper capabilities. Others failed catastrophically, producing grotesque mutations that had to be terminated. And in the most heavily secured cell aboard the ship, Homelander hung suspended in a containment field, unconscious, while machines monitored every aspect of his physiology. Tubes fed him nutrients. Sensors mapped his cellular structure. Imperial scientists studied the Compound 5, saturating his system, searching for ways to duplicate his power level. Billy Butcher watched through the observation window, his expression unreadable. "They're going to clone him," Huey said quietly, standing beside Butcher. Thrawn told MM, "The Empire wants to create an army of Homelander-level soldiers. Can you imagine? Thousands of them, all loyal to the Emperor." "Let them try," Butcher muttered. Homelander's power came from decades of Compound V saturation, starting in infancy. You can't just replicate that in a lab, not easily anyway. They'll waste years trying. And if they succeed? Butcher was silent for a long moment. "Then we'll cross that bridge when we get there. For now, the original cunt's locked up where he can't hurt anyone. That's progress." "Progress?" Huey's voice rose. "Billy, we helped an alien empire conquer Earth. How is that progress?" "Because Vaught's broken," Butcher replied, his voice hard. "Because the supes aren't gods anymore. Because people finally see that their heroes were frauds all along. The Empire might be bastards, but at least they're honest bastards. No more commercials. No more action figures. No more pretending. There's also no more freedom," MM said, approaching from the corridor. He'd been meeting with Thrawn, another one of their required intelligence briefings. Curfews in every major city. mandatory registration of anyone with suspected compound V exposure, public executions of resistance fighters. This is occupation, Billy. This is tyranny. Yeah, well, better their tyranny than Homelanders, Butcher shot back. At least the Empire has rules, structure. They don't laser people for fun or rape women in bathroom stalls. They're evil, but it's organized evil, predictable evil. Listen to yourself, said, shaking his head. You're justifying fascism because you hate Homelander that much. I'm justifying survival. Butcher's composure cracked. We lost, Earth lost. We can either work with the Empire and maybe protect some people in the process, or we can die pointlessly fighting an enemy we can't beat. What would you have me do? Before could respond, Frenchie rushed into the observation room, Kimiko close behind. We have a problem. A very big problem. What now? Butcher demanded. The Emperor is coming, Frenchie said, his voice uncharacteristically shaken. Emperor Palpatine himself. He arrives tomorrow to personally oversee Earth's integration into the Empire. And Billy, his expression darkened. Thrawn says the Emperor specifically requested to meet with you. The room went silent. Me? Butcher finally said. Why the hell would the Emperor want to meet me? Because Lord Vader reported your role in Earth's pacification, Frenchie explained. The Emperor is intrigued by someone who would betray his own world for revenge. He wishes to assess whether you might be useful for similar operations on other conquered worlds. Huey's eyes widened. They want to turn you into a professional collaborator, someone who helps them conquer other planets. Fuck that, Butcher said immediately. I worked with them to destroy Vought, not to become some imperial lackey. You may not have a choice, came a new voice. Grand Admiral Thrawn entered the observation room, his red eyes gleaming in the sterile light. The Emperor's invitations are not optional, Mr. Butcher. However, I would suggest viewing this as an opportunity rather than a threat. His Majesty is capable of great generosity to those who serve him well. And what happens to those who refuse to serve? Asked. Thrawn's smile was thin and cold. I suspect you already know the answer to that question. He departed, leaving the boys alone with their thoughts and the unconscious form of Homelander floating in his containment field. So that's it then, Huey said quietly. We're trapped. Either we keep collaborating, or we die. There's always a third option, Butcher said, but his voice lacked conviction. Kimiko signed rapidly. Frenchie translated. She says we survived Vought. We can survive this too. We just need to be patient. Watch for opportunities. The Empire is powerful, but nothing lasts forever. Inspirational, muttered. Real uplifting. They stood in silence, watching Homelander's unconscious form. The man who had terrorized them for years, who had seemed invincible, now reduced to a laboratory specimen. There should have been satisfaction in that. Victory. Justice. Instead, Butcher felt only emptiness. He'd gotten what he wanted. Homelander defeated. Vought destroyed. The supes brought low. But the cost had been everything. Earth's freedom. Humanity's independence. The future itself, now controlled by an empire that spanned galaxies. Billy, Huey said softly. What have we done? Butcher didn't answer. He couldn't. Because deep down, in a place he'd never admit existed, he was terrified that Huey was right. That in his obsession with destroying Homelander, he'd helped doom the entire planet. Outside the observation window, Earth hung in the void, blue and green and beautiful, wrapped in the shadows of Imperial Star Destroyers like a jewel claimed by a dragon. The galaxy, far, far away, had come to Earth, and nothing would ever be the same. Emperor Palpatine arrived aboard his personal flagship, the Eclipse, a superstar destroyer that dwarfed even the Executor. His presence in the Force was overwhelming, a darkness so profound that every Force-sensitive being on Earth felt it like a physical weight pressing against their souls. Even supes without any connection to the Force reported feeling inexplicable dread. The Emperor's meeting with Billy Butcher lasted 3 hours. What was discussed remained classified, but when Butcher emerged from the throne room, his expression was haunted in a way even Huey had never seen before. He said nothing about the conversation, not even to his closest friends. But from that day forward, Butcher's collaboration with the Empire took on a new intensity, as if he'd seen something in Palpatine's yellow eyes that had fundamentally changed his perspective. The Emperor's inspection of Compound 5 research proved more fruitful than anyone anticipated. Within 6 months, hybrid stormtrooper battalions emerged, soldiers enhanced with stabilized Compound 5, who possessed both Imperial discipline and superhuman capabilities. They weren't as powerful as Homelander, but they were controllable, loyal, and numerous. The first deployment occurred on a rebellious Outer Rim world, where enhanced stormtroopers crushed a Rebel Alliance cell with terrifying efficiency. Homelander remained in stasis, studied endlessly, his genetic code becoming the template for future enhancements. Occasionally, he was awakened for testing, during which he raged and threatened and screamed. But the containment fields held, and eventually even his threats became hollow. The god had become a specimen, his power cataloged and replicated, his legend reduced to data in Imperial archives. Earth itself fell into an uneasy equilibrium. The occupation was brutal but efficient. Infrastructure improved under Imperial administration. Crime rates plummeted, mostly because criminals were executed publicly. Vought's corruption was exposed in staged trials that served Imperial propaganda perfectly, convincing many citizens that the Empire had actually saved them from corporate tyranny. But resistance stirred in the shadows. Black Noir led an underground network of supes who refused to submit. Military cells coordinated guerrilla attacks, and the boys, working from within the Imperial structure, quietly gathered intelligence and waited for their moment. Because empires, no matter how powerful, always had vulnerabilities, and Earth's defenders, broken but not defeated, would eventually find them. The Galactic Empire had conquered Earth, but the story was far from over. Somewhere in the darkness, rebellion waited, patient, watchful, and inevitable. The Empire had brought order to a chaotic world, but they'd also created something they hadn't anticipated, a unified enemy. Humans and supes who once fought each other now shared a common oppressor, and history had proven, time and again, that empires built on fear eventually fell to hope. The question wasn't if Earth would resist, it was when. And whether, when that moment came, there would be anyone left who remembered what freedom felt like. May the Force be with you. More stories await.